Here we go. This is episode 22. Give 'em the boot. A roundtable discussion about punk and hardcore music. What's up? Welcome to Be Happy I Didn't Kill You, Confessions of a Recovering Angry Girl. Sam here, your host with the most stage diving injuries. Today's topic, a roundtable discussion about punk hardcore music. And here with me is Reese, hello, from Boogeyman's Closet, and Cori and Bryan.
Hi.
Come to this.
How we doing?
And Travis.
Hello.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing good.
What's your podcast, Travis?
Soon. We had one in the works. It's just he's gotta be comfortable enough to do it. So
Yeah.
the more episodes I can have
Yep.
him on for here, the more we can get him into our weird cult that we have going on.
And you know what? If we can do it, anyone can do it.
Cult.
One of us.
Which is kind of the interesting thing about Western New York does have the most cults per capita in the entire U.S.
Really?
Yes. I read that. It was a statistic
Oh.
from a few years ago, so it may have changed, but according to the definition for cults list, we have the most.
Oh, huh.
Fascinating, actually.
Yeah. Definitely something to look more into. So I kind of feel like for this subject too, we couldn't just have like one guest. I feel
Right.
like there's been so many people, especially like in my life, that has been affected by like this genre of music and
Right.
enjoys this genre of music and everything. And then our shout out for this week is So It Comes to This, Simpsons Family Podcast.
Yeah, that's us.
That's you guys. And I promise, Cori, you can do your shout out later. I saved a very special area for you.
Oh.
All right, so we are going to start with Maurice over there. Hi, buddy.
How's it going?
So, what bands kind of got you started into this genre?
Well, I got into punk rock right around 1994. So, I don't want to sound like a poser, but it was like Green Day, Rancid, Offspring, Vandals. That's what
But they were all influenced by the originals, so...
Yeah. And of course, I've always liked the Ramones, Sex Pistols. So, so whenever I think of my younger years, or back in like I said, '94, those are the bands I really think about, and appreciate all the albums that came out that year. That was actually a really good year for punk rock.
Huge year.
It was.
Yeah.
Just for music in general,
Yeah.
94. Just
Yeah,
huge.
Travis was saying that earlier too, that like some of the albums that came out there, like we were talking about Dookie earlier, and how many times like, we listened to that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every week this year, it's like 30th anniversary, 30th anniversary,
Yeah.
30th anniversary. Like so many are coming out. It's crazy.
Totally. Cori, for
Yes. Let's see. I think my situation's a little different. I went to high school in like the legitimate ghetto, so my upbringing was rap.
you,
But
we
when
both were
yeah.
heavily into rap too.
But when I was little, I had my mom's record collection and my uncle's record collection, and somewhere in between the Bee Gees and Deep Purple, there was a Ramones album. And I was like fascinated by it because these were guys that didn't look like the new kids on the block.
Did not.
And they didn't have the same sound, but I loved it. But like,
You know
when
what's funny thing about
yeah.
the Ramones too? How people are always like, they can say when you say punk, a lot of
Yeah.
people, because it's so mainstream, but it's so poppy and catchy, and
Yeah.
their lyrics are so like happy. And
They were
like,
trying to copy the Bay City Rollers
yeah,
when they came out with Blitzkrieg Bob.
that I also love.
Yeah.
So
And also, it's funny that you mentioned New Kids on the Block, because I guess they were the New Kids of the Block back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young teenagers
Right.
playing
Yep.
poppy music.
Are you saying the Ramones were a boy band?
Yeah.
no, that's
Yes,
Sex
I am.
Pistols.
I mean, could tie that in.
And then, like Reese said, then you get older and you get into high school and you have your Green Day and you have your Rancid. And from Rancid, I found Op Ivy and Op Ivy with Jesse Michaels, who I love, and Tim Armstrong, and there was a podcast you were listening to that said with their looks they could have been in a boy band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it,
Okay.
and it just went one thing right after another, and I like this, so what else do I like? You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Bryan, you're up.
All right. So, so for me, like, I remember growing up and always, being interested in music. But, it was always, like, the Kiss 98.5 stuff and, Young MC and, like, all that, like, old school kind of hip-hop. But, like, I always felt like none of the music really, like, spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Green Day happened. And the interesting thing about that was I remember Longview coming out and not really being into it. But then, as soon as Basket Case came out, that was it.
Yeah.
I was, like, totally just, like, so enamored with them. They took over my entire life, and I was just so obsessed with them. And then, of course, as, like, Cori and Reese are saying, that led you, like, that was just, like, the introduction.
Yeah.
And then that led me to Screeching Weasel, who I absolutely adored. And then, of course, you start listening to albums, and then you read the credits in the back, and the shout-outs, and then you're like, oh, okay, so Screeching Weasel's talking about the Mr. T experience. Who is that? I love Mr. T. I'm going to listen to them. And then, that takes you through. And then, of course, at that time in 94, as Reese mentioned, you got Rancid, so that was a huge thing for me. I never really got too into The Offspring. I always liked them, but it was never really so into them. But, and then from there, you just start there, and then you start working backwards.
Yeah.
And then
Like,
you
who are
start
their
discovering,
influences?
the other bands and seeing who they're talking about and things like that. And, so that's how it started for me. And then once that happened, I was just taken over by this genre and just, like, living that lifestyle. And, I always felt weird, too, because, like, I never really, quote, dressed the part, So, I would always wear my concert tees, and for a long time, I just wore my black leather jacket everywhere I went. Didn't matter if it was 90 degrees. It didn't matter if it was,
It's
negative
part of the
5
uniform.
degrees. I would wear it, and then I always felt like, I can't zip it up either.
Yeah.
So it would be, like, so cold, and I just had my hands in my pocket and, like, just trying to stay warm. And
Like, everyone has to see my shirt.
Right. But that was, like, the big thing for me back then was just, like, following kind of almost that Ramones aesthetic. But it's because, I got so obsessed with Screeching Weasel and Ben Weasel and all the things that he espouses, good or bad. But yeah, so that was it for me. And then, of course, from punk, then you start to discover ska, and you discover hardcore, and you discover all kinds of other things. And
It's
so,
funny how the genres kind of, like, link together, you
Right.
know, and there's so many subgenres,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
constantly.
You know what I find funny is, many concerts I've been, we've all been to. It's so funny because if you see a band that's metal, it's funny. Their influences are like the Ramones and Clash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But punk bands are inspired by like metal bands from the
Yeah.
70s and
Right.
80s. It's like reverse of what they do.
Totally.
It's very interesting to
Definitely
hear their stories
interesting.
about what influenced them.
right. And some of them you're just like, wait, really?
Yeah, like you're this
Yeah.
hardcore metal band, but you're influenced by
Right.
Ramones or
Mhm. Well, I just mean even, like, more like pop acts.
yeah.
Like some.
Oh, yeah, even
Popeyes.
influence, too.
Like sometimes
Yeah.
you're like, wait, really? Like the Carpenters? Like that was an influence? Okay. Like,
Yeah, right.
All right, Travis.
So I grew up listening to like 50s rock and roll
Yep.
and classic country, and by the time I was in like 6th grade, 7th grade, I'm like, I can't no more. I need something heavier. So I was really into Offspring, Smash, Green Day, stuff like that. But then that led me down to like the Misfits and that whole other genre of horror punk and stuff,
right.
which I was a big Metallica fan back then too, and they covered a lot of Misfits songs
Right.
and wore all the gear and stuff, and I was like, man, I want to check them out, and that takes you down another like Tiger Army and stuff like that, and
Plus
so-
that Misfits logo, like,
Yeah,
it's so iconic.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly, yep. Yeah,
I feel like that's a
every
gateway
punk has-
into
Yeah.
like the
has it,
music
yeah.
too. A lot of times is Misfits.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, then the Rancid and like TSOL and
Offspring, we were talking about
Offspring
earlier.
and-
Smash. That
Yeah.
I think that album came out in '94 too.
Yeah,
so I
they
think it was
did.
at the
But
same time.
the funny thing about Offspring though is, as much as I love that album, it's the album that came out before that is like my favorite album by them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it was self-titled.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
think
I'm
it
trying
is.
It's Jennifer Lost the
Yes.
War.
Yeah.
And all those songs on it, but yeah.
I
Not
feel
to
like I
interrupt you.
haven't
that's-
listened to like that one enough, you know.
See, that's my go-to. Like, if I'm in the mood for Offspring, I listen to their older stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Here we go with the elitists over here. I liked them before they were popular.
No, that's not. No, that's
Hey,
not true, because-
we don't know how we
That's
get into
not
these
true.
things.
because I didn't know that album.
Right.
I thought Smash was when it came out. I thought
Right.
that was their first album.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
went backwards and
Right.
found it. Like,
Which
it-
is always funny when like a really popular album comes out like that, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, well this is you think it's like their first album or something, and then it's like, no, actually there's something before that. And I feel like the ones before that are always slightly different in
Yeah.
like their artistic.
Well, like
You know.
Rancid and Out Come the Wolves.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Perfect
and
example.
you know Green Day, and you go back to the Lookout
Right,
stuff,
yeah.
Kerplunk and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I
different.
love
I
the
love
Kerplunk
it.
Yeah.
album. I love
Yeah.
it.
I
I
love
wish
it.
they
but
would do a tour and just play that whole
I
set.
know, but it's so different.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
totally different.
Bad Religion's another like huge
Yes.
Right.
influence.
Mhm.
I really like their music. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And especially with like Bad Religion more than some. Well, I mean, for all of them, it's about the lyrics too, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
they were writing
Mhm.
about, the content of it, and everything. And like, you know, it was kind of cool. Some of them even like writing about being like a vegetarian, or you know,
Yeah.
like being straight edge, or like
Yeah,
you know,
minor
something like
threat,
that,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
So,
But-
Travis, with you liking like 50s rock, growing up listening to rockabilly,
Mhm.
what do you like? Social Distortion?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I, that's one of those bands where it's kind of hard to like classify them. Are they rockabilly? Are they punk? Are they,
They're like-
yeah,
they're
they got a little bit of
everything.
everything in
Right.
there. Yeah, even some like country sound in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I-
they've progressed over the years
Yeah.
too. You know,
Yep.
like
They've
like-
gotten heavier and more
Right.
cleaner. And,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm like you are, Travis. Like, I was raised by my grandparents, so of course I listened to like 50s music, and like I love Tiger Army.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
love them,
Yeah.
and they have the look and the sound.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
we've
Yep.
seen Tiger Army a few times.
For a
It's super
3-man
good.
band.
Yeah.
They
Right.
put out some good sound. You know?
Yeah.
Rockabilly is definitely like one of my favorite like subgenres
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
go off.
And
I'm a
a
sucker
stand-up
for
bass.
stand-up
Yeah,
bass.
a stand-up
Yes.
bass.
Oh,
The Coffin
yeah.
Cats.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like really good.
Yeah.
They used to tour
We
Rancid
saw
a lot.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
noticed when Rancid would go on tour, Coffin Cats were
Yeah.
usually
And
with
they
them.
play at Mohawk quite a bit.
Yeah.
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 We saw them actually in North Tonawanda
Yeah.
years upon years ago.
At an American Legion.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
There was
awesome.
probably 30 people there. Or something?
Yeah.
Like it was great.
Wow, that's so cool.
I love that too, like the super small shows. Like I saw DRI in like 2003 or 4, and there was like 20 people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was like, that's crazy. But like it's nice because then you get like a more intimate show, and a
Right.
lot of times you get
Yeah.
a chance to talk more to like the band.
Yeah.
And leading to that, starting with Maurice, what was your favorite band that you think you've seen from this?
Well, what about you? We haven't heard about
Yeah.
yours.
Oh wow. No one ever asked me.
She's like, I
that.
wasn't prepared for this.
I wasn't prepared. I mean, I can.
I know. Look at me and Bryan over here taking over. We're asking the questions.
They're kicking into to podcast mode. Like, hold on, wait, let me ask a question. For me, like a huge one was Misfits. Like Misfits was one of the first big like kind of punk bands I got into. I moved.
They're kind of like another one's like what are they metal?
Yeah,
Are they punk?
and, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. Because it definitely does jump around, but I see them as like a darker, grittier Ramones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially like the earlier stuff. That's how like I kind of first see that, and Offspring was like a big one too. Like Smash, that was such a fantastic album. Like my friend Charity and I listened to it. Like it was our favorite album for that year, and we listened to it like so much.
Right.
It's just that
So
it's one of those
much.
albums like I don't skip a song. There's
No,
not one
no.
bad song on there.
Yep, and like we were talking about Dookie earlier, the same thing with like that for Green Day, like
Right.
that
Yeah.
full album was just, and it was so relatable,
Right.
You know, at the moment, especially like for all of us, we're all about the same age, you
Right.
know, being in high school and or well, starting up high school and like all that,
Teenagers,
yeah,
and teenage
teen
angst,
angst
and, yeah.
and like all that stuff too.
And that's kind of what I was saying too. That like so much music didn't really speak to me, but like that was it grabbed me, and I was
Yeah.
like, yes, I understand what this guy is saying. Like even though he's in his mid-20s at this point, like he's speaking directly to me.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and stuff
totally.
Like
That's what
And
I
that
love-
too, like the lyrics, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know, you felt like he was trying, or whoever he, she, whoever was singing,
Right.
was trying to give you a message, you know, or kind of like influence you. What were you saying?
Or
I was gonna say that's what I love about punk rock, especially is it's real life. It's about real life things
Yep.
that you're saying we can relate to and what
Yeah,
we've struggled
absolutely.
or gone through with. So
And-
it's nice.
And most of the time too, like the people that are involved in it are very down to earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there's
There's
very
no
few like prima donna ego people that you hear about. Yes, it does happen.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it sounds like when people interact with, the artists and everything, they're very just down to earth, welcome you in. A lot of them will come out, hang out after the show.
Right, or watch
and
other
stuff like
bands.
that. Otherwise,
Oh yeah.
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 And
But-
I feel like that's very unique to the music industry. Like
Definitely.
people
Yeah.
being that just kind of down to earth and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point. I feel like for this genre of music, it's
And I think that helps to draw people in
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like Chuck Reagan of Hot Water Music. Every time we go and see him play, he's hanging out afterwards, and I always go up and see him. I don't know if he remembers me or if he's just a good actor, but every time it's like we are best friends and we haven't seen each other in a while.
You just
Yeah.
like,
He
oh my
gives
god, it's
me
so
a
great
big
to see
hug,
you.
and
How
yeah.
are you? And
That's how it is with Jeff Rickley from Thursday with me.
He gives you a big hug too?
Well, no, but like he
Oh my
remembered
God.
meeting me from the first
Yeah.
time.
yeah.
And
Well, and Jeff's a good guy.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
lived at 33 Tyler, Thursday played the basement.
yeah,
Yeah,
Nice.
that was an awesome show.
they're another one of those bands. Are they punk? They're a little bit of punk. They're a little bit of metal. Like they're like in between.
And not to get too far into it, but they're, I feel like My Chemical Romance is. Like, people hate on them, but they're just, I don't know if they're very punk, but they're just theater kids.
Yeah.
And
I feel like they're
remember-
kind of like a glam rock
Yeah.
punk, you know?
Yeah.
that's a good,
You know,
that's
like
a
a
good
good
idea.
way to.
Yeah.
Gerard saying
What
that
AFI went to.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
That Gerard saying that Thursday was like the flip side to their coin.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like how you said that too. AFI went to that.
Oh,
Because
yes.
AFI started
AFI
out
was a
really
punk
heavy.
They were like
Yeah.
hardcore. They were
Yeah.
hardcore
Pretty
punk
hardcore.
when they
Yeah.
started, right?
Davey
Which-
Havoc's still beautiful.
Oh my God, I love
He will
that
always
man.
be
He-
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
He is a beautiful man.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Matt Skiba might not agree with that.
But AFI is another band that I tend to go to. I will listen to their older stuff.
Yeah,
way
Sing the
more.
Yeah.
Sorrow and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All Hallows Eve.
All
even.
Hallows Eve.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
That's on my
Yeah.
around Halloween time. That's like on my playlist.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like Halloween and like this time of year when it starts to get like windy and
Yeah.
colder, that's like when this music
Yeah.
really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when my oldest was young, I used to sing AFI songs to her as like a lullaby.
Oh, awesome.
And when she got older, she's like,
Thank you.
"Mom, this isn't a lullaby," and I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, it's
No, this is-
AFI."
This is Days of the
Cute.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
She saw it from that aspect,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, this genre of music has so much humanity to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's cute to be able to put it into like that.
And most of that music, they're not like rich like pop stars and stuff. Like they're
Right.
they're living.
A lot of them are
lives.
still working a job
Right,
too,
right,
which
yeah.
some of them they'll talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Touring
Yeah.
in vans.
Now,
and-
Yeah.
granted, there's 4 or 5 that are actual professors in colleges, so they're
Oh.
making
Yeah,
decent
totally.
money. But still, I mean,
That's- yeah.
You know,
That
they're
too,
working other jobs.
There's a strong crossover between education
Mhm.
and punk.
Well,
You know,
yes.
like
Greg
working in
Graffin
Yeah.
is
Some
like-
bands.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
some
Milo
that
from
there's
the
not.
70s.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
But a lot of the bands, yes, there's definitely a lot of.
What's the really silly band that you listened to a lot when we first started dating that was a punk one? It'll probably come to me later.
It
Yeah.
can be
I
any
know,
multitude of
Andy
it
bands.
had a
Yeah.
super silly name. It'll come to me. So Maurice, back to you for
Okay.
your top viewing experience, I should say.
Oh,
I know it's hard. It's hard.
it really
so
is.
you don't have to pick one.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but whenever I think of concerts, I always go back to the first concert I ever went to, and that was Green Day at the Convention Center in Niagara Falls with the Riverdales.
Yes.
I always think about that concert as one of my favorites because it was my first real concert. Like I went to club shows and saw like local bands, but Green Day. Oh man, I've been to so many. One. Like
that must have been great to see them like starting out where they had I mean, they still have energy.
Right. Yeah.
I'm saying like
their
where
shows
they
are
were starting
incredible.
out with like their first bout of energy.
Well, that was actually the Insomniac tour.
Right.
But still, I mean, that was when they were first
and they
getting
did
big.
tour for Dookie here.
Yeah.
But that was before I was starting to get into them.
Right.
Because they played,
I think I remember. Yeah, I think I didn't go to that one, but I remember.
Or then it was
like,
called Blind
hearing
Melon.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
it
ways
was Blind
back
Melons.
then, but
Yeah, because that's where I saw Weezer too in '94.
that was my
at
first
Blind Melons.
concert.
Yeah, which we realized we were both at that concert.
Yep.
And then my first was Mary J. Blige and Notorious B.I.G. That was my first like legit.
nice.
concert.
That's
Cool
not
show.
Yeah.
That's not a bad for a show.
Yeah.
But more recently, like I was saying earlier, like there's this band I like right now. They're called the Wonder Years, and I feel like they put on one of the best shows I've seen. I'm more into like right now. It's not an official name, but I call it like dad punk rock, like because it's older
I feel
people.
like that's getting thrown around with what a lot of the bands we're talking about right now because of the younger kids.
Right.
Dads were the ones that they learned it from.
Right, but these guys are like in their 30s, 40s, and they're
I think a lot of these guys are granddad punk rock at this point.
Yeah. Oh, true.
Well, yeah, Bad Religion, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Wonder Years, another band I've liked recently is Spanish Love Songs. It's like they're not like what people would consider punk rock. Like,
right.
They're not like NoFX, Bad Religion punk rock, but it's it's real life. It's singing about stuff that's really going on, in their lives and stuff. And they've put on some of the best shows. The Menzingers, that show I saw at Rec Room last year was just maybe one of the best concerts I've ever been to because they played every song that I like, and it's not just their big hits, like the songs that nobody knows about, but it's they're one of my favorites. They played all their songs. The crowd was just nuts. Like overall, it was dynamic.
That's what I love most about live music too, is the crowd interaction. You're sharing that experience with a whole room full of people that also want to be there. So
Nothing gives you goosebumps like the sing back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Singer stops, holds the mic out, and everyone's just screaming out every word. Just like, it's incredible.
Yep.
And it's like they don't even have to do it. They just stop singing and they're just going with it because they know what you want.
Yeah.
What you want us to do.
Yeah.
You want us to sing. So, some other shows that really jumped out at me. Flag and Molly is, they always put on a great show. They're always so fun. I've seen them probably 9 or 10 times. They're just so entertaining, and the fans are into it. Unfortunately, I hate to bring them up, but one of my favorite bands to watch live, I can't really talk about or listen to anymore.
Yeah.
Anti-Flag.
Yeah.
Because of what's going on with the singer. So we won't go much into that, but they have put on such great shows.
Yeah.
Like their shows are A+. Like, and unfortunately,
Shows were A+.
right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's not. He's a
Remembrance.
scumbag.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that doesn't happen too much in this genre. Like, we have him.
I definitely feel like this genre calls it out more.
Right.
than,
Yeah.
Like, of course, you had Jorge from the Casualties, who turned out to be a kitty toucher.
Ugh.
And I love the Casualties. Like, that's
Yeah.
more of like the hardcore punk bands I like. I guess they have a new singer now, but I haven't really listened to them. So it's hard for me to listen to their old stuff because of the stuff that he did. But yeah, those probably.
Nice. Very cool. Cori.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm thinking.
What's going on?
You got a lot to draw from.
I do.
So do I. It's like I'm trying to think back. I'm going back to years.
Yeah, I
and
know.
like,
It's so hard because I feel like a lot of us have been constant goers
Yeah.
Right.
for a very long time now.
My first real punk rock experience, though, was shout out Susie Hunt, Warped Tour 95, the very first one at Melody Fair. Me and
One I didn't
Susie
go
and our
to.
friend Karen went, and
Yeah.
that was the first time, because my concerts before that were Richard Marx and Paula Abdul, and there aren't a lot of mosh pits there.
Not a lot
No.
for Richard Marx.
No.
no crowd
Paula
surfing.
Abdul, are you sure?
Straight up, not telling me. I mean, that's gonna get the crowd
It's a
going.
little crazy.
But I mean, we went there, and I remember Orange 9mm was playing,
No, I've seen those
and we
videos.
did not know what was going to happen. We
Uh-huh.
were like 16, 17,
Oh.
and then a mosh pit started, and we were like, ah!
What is going on?
Yeah. And we got out of there as soon as we could. Like, I think Susie got elbowed in the eye, which was awful for us back then because we
Yeah.
were like crying, like, what just happened? But that was like the first real punk experience I had. And then
some
there's
really unique bands there too. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sublime
Yeah.
before
Oh,
Brad.
Yeah.
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 like I mean, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
You got to see
Yeah.
Sublime.
Yeah.
Like, and really before they really were huge.
Right.
But I mean, really, they
Mhm.
didn't get huge till he passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But we were just talking. We went to this show in Rochester years ago to see the Suicide Machines, and it was in a basement, and it was dingy, and it was hot, and it was everything that a punk show
low ceilings.
should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then, like, you know, the Buffalo Band, like your Snapcase and your Every Time I Die, and
All your basement
just
shows.
all the
Yeah.
basement shows.
Yeah. Ugh, basement shows were so
Oh, they were so fun.
They're bringing back now generator shows. So this local group of kids have been like popping up shows and just bringing like a generator.
Huh.
So then doing it like under bridges or in the
Oh,
middle
nice.
of parks
Yeah.
or like kind of stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah. It's
That-
like it really seems like it's coming back with this
Yeah.
newer generation, which is super nice.
But like I remember when I was young, I lived in Florida for like a year. But the good thing about it, and there wasn't a lot of good about it, but the good thing about it was I met this kid named Dave, and he got me into so many bands, and we went from Daytona to Gainesville. We were 16.
Mhm.
We went from Daytona to Gainesville to see Less Than Jake.
Nice.
And he's like, yeah, there's this band called Listen. He said, there's this band I know. He did not know them. And we
They're
went
from
and
Gainesville,
saw,
right?
yeah.
Yes, they are.
And we went and saw them in a bar, and me with my mustered up fake confidence going up to the bar like, one gin and tonic, please. I was 16.
Yeah.
What was I doing? And I remember Vinny being at the bar looking at me going, you can't drink. And I'm like, yes, I can. And he's like, okay.
Like I can do what I want, okay?
And
I mean, what's more punk rock than that?
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then that goes back to what we were talking. Just hanging out at the bar
Yeah.
before the show and interacting with you
And
and
like
everything.
that
Yeah.
Boston show in Boston, their
Yeah.
hometown show, that we drove into Boston,
From
and
New
it was
Jersey.
winter, and we hit a puddle, and our car
It rained the entire time.
died.
Oh man.
And it was awful, and I was, because I'm very chill about literally everything,
Yeah,
I was
that's
in
true.
tears. I was like freaking out, and I said, we're not even gonna go to the show tonight. And Brian's like, no, we have to go. So we went, and Dickie Barrett was hanging out, and I told
Hometown
him,
throwdown.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we came here and our car broke down, and we're
Aw.
from Buffalo, and he just stopped me and gave me a big hug. And
Oh man, that's awesome.
yeah,
And then you told him how many times you've seen them.
Yeah, by that time I had seen them like 35 times.
Wow.
And he's like, and
They're
you're from
one of my-
Buffalo?
Yeah.
And she's like,
They're
"Yep."
one of my favorite
And
bands.
he was
Yeah.
very touched by that.
Aw, that's awesome. That's too, like, when you do, I feel like, get to have these conversations with some of these people,
Yeah.
it's like, it's nice that they're, like, humbling about it,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
And that they're like, this is awesome that you're spending your
Yeah.
time to come see me and supporting me, and, like,
Right.
it's super cool.
No.
Right?
All right. So yeah, just like both Reese and Cori, there's so many to choose from. Like I could probably spend an hour and a half just going through all the ones that have been memorable to me. But
I know I'm thinking about
I know,
more.
Yeah.
I know,
yeah.
like as we're going along. But one real big one, that same trip that Cori just mentioned for the Boss Tones, we did Home for the Holidays for the Bouncing Souls.
Oh, nice.
I love the Bouncing Souls. They're tattooed on my body. And I've always loved that band so much. And for many years, they would put on a whole thing right around the holidays where they would do like 2 or 3 shows at the Stone Pony, which is, you know, for anyone who knows of Bruce Springsteen, he mentions that gig a lot right in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I always wanted to go. And then finally one year, Cori and I were like, let's just do it.
Yeah, I got you
So,
tickets for Christmas.
Yeah, so we went, and then after that, we went and did the hometown throwdown in Boston for Boss Tones. And it wasn't just the shows for the Bouncing Souls, but they did so much other stuff. There was like a punk rock flea market. Someone did like a walking tour of like things for the band. So, you know, we walked by like Kate's house and, you know, all this different stuff, you know, for the band. And just that whole experience was just amazing. And then I think it was that one. I can't remember if it was that one or the second one. We didn't have tickets to the second show, and we just showed up anyway.
So the show you're talking about wasn't our first Home for the Holidays. That was our second one.
That was the second one? Okay.
So the third one was
Because we
the
went
one.
3 times.
Oh.
So a lot of them are
Yeah.
probably getting mixed together. But
Yeah.
But one of the times we went, so they played 2 nights at the Stone Pony, and we didn't have tickets the second night. So I just told her, well, let's just go down. Maybe we'll get them from a scalper. No one was scalping tickets, and we're just hanging out. And I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do. And I think that was before StubHub and all that.
Yeah.
So you know, you didn't even have a secondary market. And we're just waiting around, and we're just hoping. And then find this one guy, like our savior.
Yeah.
He comes in. He goes, "You guys need tickets?" You're like, "Yep." He's like, "I got like 6 extra.
Oh, man.
Come with me." And you know, we paid him and everything, and it was just
like,
funny.
just
like
come with
he
me to
just,
Spain.
Yeah.
he just ushered us in.
Candy.
And I think like we missed the openers, but you know, we got to see the Souls and everything, and really, I mean, all 3 of those were memorable because
Yeah.
of some of the bands that opened up.
And London went with us to
yeah,
the last
London went
one.
to the last one with us. So
And
that was
Dave House was
yeah.
the loved
Dave
ones.
Halls from the Loved Ones. He did a very small performance, like 5 songs at like this record store.
Yeah.
There was like 15 people there. It was awesome. He got to meet London. It was super nice.
He got to meet London.
Yeah, it's not London got to meet him. So, so that one, all 3 of those are just extremely memorable, just because of how much I love that band, and
Yeah.
just to see them on their home turf was.
And that's
amazing.
awesome to like have an interactive like aspect to
Right.
it too that you're getting.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot this. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good.
The most memorable for me. I don't know why I didn't remember it. Must not have been memorable. I saw My Chemical Romance before they were My Chemical Romance. They had just released 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. They were at the Rapids Theater. All of my friends at that time were elitist, and they're like, ugh, no, we hate them. Emo, bleh. And I'm like, all right. That was the only show I ever went to by myself. And to see these boys in like the Rapids Theater, and there were like not that many people to support them. Then fast forward 20 some years later, we took London for her college graduation to see My Chemical Romance
In a hockey arena.
in a hockey arena that was
Oh, man.
almost all sold out. And like there were times when I was like brought to tears thinking, I saw you back when, and now you're selling out hockey arenas.
Well, and you
Yeah,
had that
yeah.
with Every Time I Die too, when they
Yeah.
opened for Fall Out Boy
Yeah.
at the the KeyBank Center.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, but
It's nice to see when bands
Yeah.
make it,
Right.
you know?
I feel like a lot of bands like assist in that too, you
Yeah.
know, and especially with this genre, like it's nice when that happens.
Mhm.
So, and then two of the other ones that I think are very memorable for me is, and Cori always kind of rolls her eyes at this one because I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's because it happened before I met her or what, but.
It was BC.
Yes, BC before Cori.
Before
Cori.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you were supposed to go to the show and something fell through, right?
Yeah, so I'm salty.
Yeah. So for me, outside of the Bouncing Souls, probably my all-time favorite band is The Clash. And of course, I came to them later on. We talked about kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
So that was, Green Day and all of that, and then going back and finding The Clash. And that opened me up to a whole new perspective. Because before then, it was, I can only listen to punk rock and maybe ska punk. I can't listen to anything else and this and that. But then I listened to The Clash and heard all the different genres that they were bringing in and stuff. And I was like, okay, so maybe it is okay to listen to the Cranberries and, other bands that aren't considered punk, And I had the great pleasure of seeing Joe Strummer perform in Canada. And it was I think about 6 months before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
So he played with his band, the Mescaleros, and, it was I think it was Lee's Palace in Toronto, so probably about 300 max.
Oh, wow.
And I was, so close to him, to the stage. Of course, he was up a little bit. But to me, that was just it was a life-changing experience, seeing him. Mm-hmm. And half of the set was Clash songs.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
it was just
figured.
oh my God, it was incredible. And then the third one, because I don't want to keep going,
As we said, we all could.
Yes. Cori mentioned Less Than Jake.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Less Than Jake one time at in Rochester at Water Street. And now, I had seen them many times and things like this, but this show, for some reason, was just very unique. It was their Hello Rockview tour, so they had all kinds of stuff going on, throwing, they would have leaf blowers of toilet paper thrown into the crowd, and just people dancing on stage and just mass chaos. But the thing that was so memorable about it was every single person in the crowd was jumping up and down and having a good time. And it wasn't mass chaos, there wasn't mosh pit. I mean, of course there was mosh pits, but
in a way there was a wave.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally, it was
jumping.
just everyone was hopping at the same time, and it was just awesome. Literally, you looked around and every single person was totally engaged, and it was great. So I think those are my top three, but of course I could keep going.
Yeah. Travis.
So I'll go with my first concert experience because that's obviously memorable.
Right.
So that was at Melody Fair, and it was Naughty by Nature and Crisscross.
Oh my God! I'm jealous.
Right? So that was also one of my first influences was hip hop until I went to punk and metal and stuff. But,
Did you wear the clothes backwards?
I did.
Yes.
Well, inside out is wiggity 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 whack.
So all right, that's out of the way. The next would probably
I
be
love that.
probably the Misfits Danzig reunion.
Oh, nice.
Just because to see all them back together was really cool.
Where was that at?
I don't remember. Was that Canada?
I know, I can't remember.
I can't remember now.
Because I was going to say, it definitely didn't come here.
No, I want to say it was Toronto or some. Yeah,
I imagine it's probably Toronto.
it was probably there. Yeah, I can't remember now.
Yeah,
But
I think
and then my third would probably be, and it's kind of, I don't know, away from the punk scene, but not really. And it would be the Hank 3 concert, because he did, to me, he's the epitome of punk country, old
Sure.
school country
Yeah.
and punk,
Yep.
and he's got his Ass Jack band, which
Yeah,
is
which is
punk and stuff, and he went through all his sets and played for, I don't know, probably 3 hours or something,
Wow.
and took requests, hung out
it was
with
great
people.
because he
It
did
was so
a
cool.
Hank set and Ass Jack set.
Yeah,
So
yep.
it was super
And
cool.
then
Did
he
you take
did
a break in between? Or?
I think they changed some instruments and stuff, and
Yeah.
then
Swept some
yeah,
guys out.
yeah, talk. Then they kind of hung out, and I took requests and stuff. I mean, it was so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think those would be my top three.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We saw Michael Graves a few years ago, and it was a super small show. So
Just
at
him?
the
Like solo stuff?
Yeah.
It was just the solo stuff. So at the end, he was like, all right, barely anybody's here.
Right.
If everybody wants to take a moment, line up if you want to hang out. And he went and talked to each
That's cool.
single one of us.
Right.
And just, was like, hey, how's it going and everything. And did like a little personal meet and greet for everyone that came to the show.
That's
And it
awesome.
wasn't
I
like
love that.
anything extra or it was
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, and he didn't have to do that.
No,
you know?
no, he didn't, and he just was like, hey, like, I really appreciate all you guys coming out here and everything, and, like, when I meet famous people, I like to ask something that's totally, like, not relevant to,
Okay.
like, the show or, like, talk anything about that. So I was like, so what movie did you watch this week? Anything good or whatever? And, of course, it totally, like, threw him off. He's like, what? Yeah, actually, I was
You don't want to
watching
talk about the
this,
Misfits? Like,
yeah,
alright.
yeah. He was like, I was watching this ghost hunting thing with my friend, and he said he got, like, terrified and stuff. And then he couldn't sleep because he was, like, scared and stuff. And then he started telling us that he doesn't like horror movies because he gets
That's
scared.
so interesting.
Yeah. And I was like, Michael Graves? What? Like, I was just, like, thrown back. But, I mean, he come into Misfits, like, second
Yeah.
singer, so, like...
And then
he
you started
wasn't
yelling
there.
that he was a poser.
No, I was just so shocked by
Yeah,
that.
that's
It was
awesome.
just kind of like, oh, and he's like, yeah, I get scared really easily. And it was like, oh. And then it was cute that he was like that vulnerable too to like,
Yeah.
like have that conversation and like say that too. That was
Danzig
just like,
never would have said that.
no.
Well, there you go. You're breaking news. This is going to
Yeah.
go viral now.
Yeah, he's gonna come find me and be like, "How dare you share that intimate conversation that we had?"
I confided in you.
I know. He's like, "Don't kill my image," and like he's influenced by operatic singers and stuff too. So like, there's another like how other genres are like pulled into
Right.
like this
Right.
genre and everything,
Yep.
which is the awesome part of it. So Reese, band with the most impact to you.
Most impact.
Which I kind of feel like we might have even gone over some of that.
Wow.
By the way, she did give us these questions ahead of time.
She
so-
did. I got them. I read the questions.
I did.
It's still, it's a tough
Yeah,
question
no,
to
it's a
answer.
tough question to answer.
It is a tough
Um,
question to answer.
Again, I guess I have to go with Green Day. Like, you know, the influence. They really got me started on the path. You know, like I mentioned earlier, the bands I've been listening to recently, they've influenced me because I just appreciate, real life. I'm trying to think of like. Because I've met quite a few band members throughout the years. I'm trying to think if anyone actually jumped out at me.
Really stuck out at you or said something.
Probably Jeff Rickley, just for the fact that he's so personable and
And then he remembered
He
you.
actually remembered me. Like,
Right.
so, that's probably my most influential meet was with him because he legit recognized me. It wasn't just like how you say with not Dave Haas, with Chuck Reagan.
Yeah.
He's probably just acting. Like, but
He gets that excited about everybody.
yeah, but yeah, I'd say Jeff Rickley. Personally, musically, I have to say Green Day influenced me. Ramones, just because they're poppy, really simple lyrics.
Yep.
But
so catchy.
yeah. But yeah, I would Green Day, Ramones.
And then what do you like listening to now? I'm gonna head into.
Well, I'm just.
this one.
It's funny. I was just telling Bryan earlier. Like I said, they're not like. People are going to hear this and be like, they're not punk rock. But the band I really enjoy there's two bands I really enjoy right now. They're called The Wonder Years and Spanish Love Songs. I just love the lyrics. I love the music, the sound. Like their live shows are amazing. They're interactive. They're friendly. They enjoy meeting us after the show. So yeah, I have to say those are my two favorites right now.
So
They were
Cori.
happy to meet you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, they really like.
So most influential for you first, or most impact.
I feel like this is gonna be tough for you.
Yeah.
It is, but I thought long and hard about it, and my answer is the only band that matters, The
Yes.
Clash. And I came to the conclusion because I named my daughter after a Clash song.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were the one, I feel like, I don't know, like 17-year-old Cori, like, I still loved Rancid and Green Day, but like The Clash, they were the one that was rooted in all of the stuff I like ska and punk and all of that. And it didn't matter that I was a white girl that also listened to rap.
Yeah.
Because I think The Clash would have thought it was
love
okay.
music, you love music, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and they had a lot of hip hop
Yeah.
influence. You know, Guns of Brixton and
Yeah.
Magnificent Seven, and
Yeah, but like, then also there are the singer-songwriters, because I'm a sucker for good lyrics. So like Dave House, who's an extremely nice guy too. He's from The Loved Ones. Tim Barry from Vale, who is just a gem of a human being. And, you know, Chuck Reagan, who is my best friend, Reese. I don't care what you said. And, like, you know, there will always be a place in my heart for Rancid and Green Day. And I don't care if people say they sold out. I don't care. This one turned his back on Green Day.
did for a short period of time.
It happens.
But, like, you know, and even now, when people are like, "Ooh, that's not punk," shut up.
Yeah. Well, Josh and Mike just put out that another rant about gatekeeping. I think I didn't get a chance to
Yeah,
listen to it.
I
yet.
didn't
haven't
either.
It just
but
came
it's
out
on
yet,
my
but I'm
list.
assuming, you know,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
that they're gonna kind of cover that too.
And-
that like,
Yeah, 'cause I feel like
Yes.
we should talk about that at some point too. Just the
Yeah.
gatekeeping of punk rock and
Oh.
what it was like back then. And,
yeah.
But
And-
maybe we'll get to that in a bit.
That was
Yeah.
the thing. For a few years, I was friends
Lonely
with
Texas.
people who were jerks.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
were
Oh, yeah.
like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
nah, you
Yeah.
can't listen to that. And I'm like,
Right.
oh,
I remember from
okay.
high school at the time the rap was crap.
Yeah.
People would write
Mhm.
that all the time.
Well, and like you were saying, we're going to see Newfound Glory soon.
Yeah.
And you said they were always a guilty pleasure because you couldn't
Always.
tell people you liked Newfound
Well,
Glory.
just, and like My Chemical Romance.
That
I went
too.
Yeah,
to see them
yeah.
alone because no one, you know, emo was a
That
sin.
that was
Right.
love.
Emo was a sin. So Fall Out Boy I also loved in their early day. I love them now. But,
And then what are you listening to now?
oh gosh.
Don't look at her Spotify.
No,
it's all over the
it's-
place.
It is all over the place.
Mine is Travis like picks on me all the time.
So-
Mine is really too.
Besides the Bee Gees and
Bee Gees are amazing. So
yeah. What am I I don't know, stuff from 20 years ago that I think just happened 2 years ago. I really like, I feel like now in my old age, I'm gravitating towards like the country punk bands like Lucero and like Chuck Reagan's solo stuff and Tim Barry's solo stuff. But I don't know, I'll always love like Snapcase and like really aggressive hard stuff, but
Yeah. And there's always
H2O
moments
and-
where you go
Yeah.
through. I feel like we were saying for seasons too. For like
Yeah.
you know, and you're like, yeah, I'll listen to more of this.
and like I know Wu-Tang is hip hop, but I feel like they are very punk as well.
Yeah.
Oh, just their
Oh,
aesthetic
yeah.
and
Oh,
yeah.
the way that they
Yeah.
think. And
Yeah.
And how they went about like their
Mhm.
whole empire.
Yeah.
But you know, punk isn't just music; it's the
Right.
meaning. It's,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
it's
Yeah.
the attitude. And,
Right.
Yep.
Do you know that Jez is a quantum physicist?
Yes.
It's like-
I
We were
just
talking
found
about
that out.
We were just
Yeah.
talking about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, Fiona Apple. I love her also. And I feel like she is very punk rock
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
just her
Yeah.
attitude. and-
Yep.
And Alanis Morissette,
Yeah.
I feel like was
Mhm.
pretty punk for.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you my guilty pleasure since you.
Yeah.
A little subgenre question.
Yeah.
Like in the '90s, early 2000s. Even though I was told people like we only listen to punk rock.
Oh,
I
Can't wait.
love.
this is gonna be good.
No, it's not gonna be as bad as you think. I don't think Everclear.
I love Everclear.
They were a guilty
We just
pleasure.
saw them and they were great.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
were great.
Yeah.
But you know
Yeah.
what though, if you because I've seen Art his own show and stuff, and he's influenced heavily by like punk rock
Yeah.
from like the '70s,
Yep.
80s. But they were a guilty pleasure of mine. Like when Santa Monica came out,
and again, it was those people who are like, ugh, you like them?
Right.
What kind of punk are you?
I want to know, where did this come from? You know,
Yeah.
because like especially in our youth, it was super heavy with our
Yes.
friends. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
people were like, and me growing up in Tonawanda, they were like Nazis about music.
Right.
You know, if you like listened to like certain stuff, like you just got torn apart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was like, I don't understand it.
I know.
I don't know how, like, where it would be interesting to even track it down to like the origin.
Yeah.
You know, and like talk about that, or like, was it just because it was so different and everybody was like afraid of?
Well, and also too, like to your point, and like you mentioned before, there's so many subgenres of
Yeah.
punk and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, so why did it all of a sudden decide that, it's fine to listen to the Ramones, but you can't listen to the Replacements?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
which
that
doesn't
doesn't
make
make any sense.
No.
Like they're kind of in the same
Yeah.
vein.
And I'm sure they
You
were
know.
influenced. But
Yeah.
Right, and like
sure.
Billy Joe says, one of the biggest influences he has is the Replacements.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I don't get that either. Now that I look back on it.
Yeah. Definitely another tough for our
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, Bryan.
All right,
So
so
first was
my most influential, it went through stages. So it started with Green Day, the wallet chain, the baggy clothes, all that. I remember going to Value on my bike and buying a chain for my wallet and everything like that. And then from there, it was all in Ramones, jeans, leather jacket, and a concert tee, like every day. And then after that, as far as like bands that kind of like shaped me, not just fashion wise, Operation Ivy really was big with me because I grew up in North Tonawanda, which is a very historically racist town. There's very little, there's very few minorities that live there. It is a very white town. And there are stories of like people chasing out certain groups and things like that at times of night, like, oh, you can't be here anymore, and things like that.
growing up in Tonawanda, like we.
Yeah,
heard
you're
the
pretty
same
close
thing.
to it.
And that bell.
Yeah.
Remember
Yes,
the bell that
yes.
used to, and then the story
Yep.
behind the.
Yep. So for me, like hearing Operation Ivy's lyrics, because I was never one to fall into that. I tried to really portray like anti-racism and accepting everyone. Now, if someone's a dick to me, that's something different. But it has nothing to do with, I need to know you before I'm going
Yeah.
to make that judgment on
Yeah.
you, And a lot of Operation Ivy's lyrics really spoke to that, especially the song Unity. And that really spoke to me and just kind of shaped who I was. And then, as Cori mentioned too, I'm going to kind of jump on her bandwagon, The Clash. Like, that was the biggest. And just hearing all the stuff that Joe Strummer did. And, Cori mentioned she named her daughter. The Clash is one of the reasons that brought us together. Because
Yeah.
we were talking online, and the reason why I reached out to her was her name was Clash City Kitty. And I was like, that's clearly a reference, so I need
Yeah.
to talk to this person.
Yeah.
And that kind of started our relationship. So yeah, I'd say those are probably the biggest influences on me, is those three. And, well, those four.
Yeah.
And then as far as like what I'm listening to now, kind of like what Cori's saying, I'm still listening to a lot of the stuff I always listened to. I actually don't really look at a lot of new stuff anymore. I feel bad about it, but I just don't. Although
It's hard because you don't know what, unless
Right.
a friend tells you about
Right.
something or you hear something.
well,
on
the
the
one
radio
thing
or
that we
something.
have is we have our younger daughters,
Mhm.
and they've turned us on to a lot of music. So I've heard about some different things
like
then.
Kaylin more than London, because London is clearly trapped
Well,
in the same time period I am.
But here's what I'll say. You know that when we met, I couldn't stand Fall Out Boy.
Right.
I couldn't stand My Chemical Romance. But London loved them so much, and then we took them to shows, and then when I saw them, like, they're still, like, especially Fall Out Boy, I'm probably not going to put them on my own, but I'm also not going to turn them off anymore, like I used to do. But now I think I actually kind of like My Chemical Romance. Like, after seeing them and seeing their show and what they put into it,
Rose on you.
of course it helped that Bouncing Souls opened for them, but they accepted them in. Obviously they're all from Jersey and everything.
Wow.
So,
And the Bouncing Souls helped get my
Right.
chem to be where
yes,
they were.
for sure. So, but one of the bands that's fairly new that I've been listening to that I'm obsessed with, and Reese knows this because we just saw them recently, is the Linda Lindas.
Hey, should you say you're
So,
obsessed with them?
The
They're
teacher I
teenage
worked
girls.
with all year,
Yeah,
her and her
that's-
daughter are obsessed.
I
And
love
when
them
she
so
found out they
much.
were playing, like, she was like super excited. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, I have to tell my daughter."
Right. But now, like Corey's saying, like,
Maybe
yeah, like when I say obsessed,
say
that
obsessed.
sounds weird because
Yes.
they're teenage girls.
Yes. Yeah.
But I love their music. It's so catchy and so good. And it just astounds me. We saw them a few years ago for the first time. They opened for Jawbreaker.
Oh wow.
And that was a huge moment for me
Oh,
for seeing
man.
Jawbreaker.
Yeah.
And they played Dear You in its
Oh,
entirety.
oh
So
my
it was,
God, that
like,
album's
amazing.
so good.
And they opened for them, and all I knew about them at that time was they had this song that they was starting to go viral called Racist Sexist Boy. And they played it in their local library. And it was all about their drummer, who was like 11 years old at the time. And she had these problems with a boy in her school treating her differently because she was Asian.
Yeah.
Well, this
And-
was around COVID time too. So,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, everyone was saying the virus started in China. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
kid's
so
parents
she
were
was getting,
telling
like,
him to
extra,
stay away from
yeah.
Chinese people.
And so these little girls go out there and they just blew me away, just how good they were. And then Reese and I just last week went and saw them when they played here, and I couldn't believe in the 3 years since we've seen them, how far they've come. They just opened for the Rolling Stones
That's
a few
crazy.
days ago,
And now they're opening
now
up for
they're
Green Day.
they're on
Yeah.
the Green Day and Rancid and Smashing Pumpkins tour.
Oh man.
You know, and
That's
it's like
so
the oldest
awesome.
member in that band I think is 19, and the drummer's 13,
13.
14.
Yeah. And
So
her voice is
all of them,
yeah.
Yeah.
like I just
What's cool about them is like all four of them sing
Mhm.
different songs,
Yeah.
and it's like all four is like all different kinds of music though.
right.
It's really interesting. Like,
Yeah.
Huh.
So I really like them, and like it was funny at the concert. They were kind of hanging out afterwards, and Reese and I were talking like, "Oh, should we go talk to him?" And then we were like, "I don't know. Does that seem creepy?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're a bunch of old guys." And,
Yeah.
their parents are
And,
here, and
yeah,
I don't
I'm
know,
like,
you know,
seriously,
the parents are gonna look at us, and be like, "Why are these two old guys going on?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
And that's sad that you guys actually have to
Right.
like think about
Yeah.
that, and
Right.
you're just
Yeah.
trying to go tell an artist that you enjoyed.
Right.
what they
And at
made,
Jawbreaker
you
too,
know?
they were kind of hanging out, and I was saying to Corey like, "Oh man, I want to get a picture," and she's like, "I don't know if I would do that. That's a little
Yeah.
weird." And I was like, "You're right." So
Yeah.
I just didn't say anything.
But it's here. I mean, here's the situation though. It's like in the time that we're in now, because if it was 4 young boys, doing a punk rock band,
Yeah.
I would probably feel more comfortable. Hey, can I get a picture with you guys? I think you're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But since it's girls, it's like because you got people judging like.
Right.
Why is this old guy?
Yeah,
Why is he not a
especially if
picture?
they don't know the reference behind it, who
Right.
the band is,
Right.
Yes.
like all that factors into it.
Right.
But I don't know, that's kind of really sad that in our society we have to be cautious of that,
Mhm.
that we have to
But
be
with so much
more-
that's happened, I get it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%,
Like, and-
100%.
And usually I don't really care what people
Mhm.
think about me.
Right.
Yeah,
But when it comes to something like that, it's like, because all you can think about is this old guy's going over. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
yeah.
Realistically, it's not weird. I
No.
just want to tell them I appreciate their music
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
appreciate
And
them.
thank you for
Enjoy the-
coming.
And
Like,
thank you
I
for
appreciate
coming.
you being here. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Every
And
time I
Understand.
meet a band, I
Yeah.
always say
Yeah.
the first thing I say is thank you for coming to Buffalo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how I usually always start my conversation. But and that's all I really want to do. But
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always get tripped up. Oh, great show, man! And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh god, I'm in idiot.
Yeah, no, I get that way too. Like when we saw the Coffin Cats at Mohawk Place one time, the singer was sitting next to us, and they both ordered the same thing.
Oh,
And I was just like, oh man, like, should we say something?
Right.
It literally was just the three of us sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
We're just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like, and we were just finally, I think we were just like, oh, have a good show, and like we walked away or
Yeah.
something,
Right.
looking forward to the show or something. And he's so tiny,
Yeah,
and
he's
his
very small,
voice
man.
Yeah.
is so like amazing that you're like, how does that come out of that tiny
Right.
man? But so for you, Travisios.
What was the question?
Most influential, impacting band to you. and
So
what you're listening to now.
I don't know, since I have tattoos of them and clothes and artwork and I don't know, Misfits are gonna have to be one of my most influential. Alice in Chains is another one. Like I know they're not really punk, but I mean I listened to them a lot in like high school and stuff, and like they kind of pushed me towards other genres of music. So those would be my two biggest influences, I think. I do like a lot of like Bad Religion stuff because they teach you to be a good human being. You know, like don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah, lyrics
And
are
intelligence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I think those three would be my biggest. And as far as new stuff goes, I don't know, I tend to just bounce around. Like my playlist right now is like Anthrax, and yesterday was Pennywise, and I don't know, just all over the board.
Right.
So I think we listened to Nelly on the way home yesterday.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Springville,
we definitely
so-
did. We definitely
Just
did.
saw
We
him.
just saw Nelly.
Oh yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Janet Jackson.
Awesome.
Oh man,
What a
That's
showman.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we were watching Longest Yard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
remake,
he was in that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so,
we're like, oh,
Yeah, like our music, it's everywhere. So
I'm so happy you said Nelly. I love Nelly.
On a punk rock podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's influenced by
Yeah.
some. I could
Sure.
definitely
Yeah.
see Nelly listening to punk.
Yeah.
Like, definitely.
Oh.
I don't know. I'd say mine would probably have to be like a lot of like the Misfits and Green Day. Like we were saying, like, I don't know, it just ran a lot of my teen angst.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Kind of helped with that and stuff. And now I get sucked into a lot now of stuff I'm listening to at work. So like, the student I'm working with now loves Spider-Man theme song and the SpongeBob theme song.
Okay.
So I have to sing Spider-Man and SpongeBob like 1,000,000 times a day. I got it down to like an art.
Have you
then-
played the Ramon Spider-Man cover?
I know
There you
that
go.
that Saturday morning cartoon CD mix that came out like 99
Yeah.
or something. What that was fantastic.
It was.
Oh yeah.
Where it had punk bands covering,
Yep.
like, that's cool that you
I still
brought that
have
up.
that.
'Cause- yeah, I
They
do
did
too.
the Banana
I do
Split
too.
song.
It's called Saturday Morning Cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember who did it, but
And it had like the
'Cause I
picture
remember I
of a
loved
kid
that
sitting in
song.
front of a TV.
Yes,
like,
yes.
like
I have
and
that.
stuff.
I have that CD.
yeah,
That's
that
funny
CD.
that we all have that CD.
Got it at Media Play.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Yeah.
Like that one was
Where
great.
did I find? I found mine at like I used to have it, and then I don't know what happened to it, and then I found it at like a record store, and I bought it for like $2 or something.
Oh, nice.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Oh no, that place in the that was in the Boulevard Mall. They had the books.
Oh,
Books, what
yeah.
was it called? Books and stuff.
Books and
Or-
more,
Oh,
or
Books
something
and
like
More.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Books
had it
and
there,
More.
so I bought it for like $2. But I was like, man, this
Nice.
brought back memories.
Yep.
And then now going to like how society views punk rock.
Mhm.
It's always so funny that like mainstream or something like has all these like classifications and labels they put on things, but like it's not that.
Right.
I remember there was something we were gonna discuss too that you said earlier that I was like, oh, that'd be good for this.
Oh, for the gatekeeping?
Yeah.
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 So, but yeah, I think,
Which maybe that is more of a societal push thing.
Yeah,
so maybe
I think
that is
so.
like the origin
But-
of it.
but like, and like
You
you're
know?
saying too, like, you think back on, when punk first came out in the 70s, and just like, you know, it was, oh my God, it was the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. And, you know, you think of the Sex Pistols and, you know, all the stuff that they did, as Cori says, the boy band,
The
the
first
Sex
boy
Pistols.
band.
Not the first, but yes.
Well, the
Because
Monkeys.
they,
but-
they,
Yeah,
they were put together by a Svengali. So.
yeah.
But no, and just like the way that was portrayed. And then I also wonder too, because of the media and spinning that out, if that's why that kind of led to that aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're punk, so you have to have safety pins in your face and spitting on people.
Yeah.
And, you know, and like, and I feel like that too, with like all these poor bands back then getting spit on. Like
Ugh.
someone probably just did it at a show one time.
Well, I mean,
And
unless
then
you're
someone
G.G.
else-
Allen,
yeah,
then
yeah.
you just like everybody
Yeah,
do everything
right.
to me.
And then, like, you know, you figure, like, one person did it, and then someone's like, oh, okay, then we got to do that. And then all of a sudden word gets out, and, like, that's what we have to do now to show. And then it became, like, a badge of courage, like, oh, we got spit on, so that means we're accepted. And
You brought up a
like-
good point there of like the word getting out, you know,
Right.
like it's like somebody says something and then it's just like everybody's like, okay, well, I guess this is what we're
Right.
going by or whatever.
Yeah,
and
and
with that
it's-
meme, like, how did that the Marilyn Manson rib thing, like, how did
Yeah.
that get spread
Right.
so quick?
Yeah.
Like, this was before like
This
social
was
media,
before
and
social
stuff.
media. How
And,
do we
like,
all know that?
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
And it's almost as if, like, because I've watched some documentaries and stuff like that from that time, and it's like, it kind of reminds me of the Satanic Panic in the 80s.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, was it really that big of a deal, or did it become a big deal because
That's
now
what they're
everyone's
saying.
talking about it and like, oh, well, now I need to do that and everything. So, and then, yeah, like, so you were saying, Cori,
Also,
with
like the holier than thou.
I was
and
just going to
the-
bring that up.
I started listening to them before this album. Like, I love Bad Religion, but there are a lot of people who are like, oh, anything before,
Stranger Than Fiction.
yes,
Fiction.
trash. Or no,
It's the
anything.
opposite. Anything
Oh,
after.
yeah.
Whatever, you
Anything
know what
after.
I'm talking
Process of
about.
Belief is a great
Yeah.
album.
Oh, it's
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
The
And
Empire Strikes First.
Yeah.
Like,
Stranger Than Fiction, one of my favorite songs.
right.
Yep.
And we were just talking about that yesterday, about, like, for me, that's where I came on into Bad Religion, was Stranger Than Fiction. Went back, and I do like their older stuff, but for me, anything from Stranger Than Fiction and on is the stuff I prefer from them.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like you said, a lot of people will be like, oh no, it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's Suffer, and,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, even with the Misfits, everybody's like, okay, unless it's Danzig,
Right.
it's
Right.
not the Misfits.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like Michael Graves brought a different aspect
yeah,
to the whole
he
thing
wrote some
and
good
like
songs.
added
Yeah.
onto
It's
it.
still
you
good,
know?
yeah.
Dig Up Her Bones
Yeah.
is an
I feel
amazing
like-
song.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel
Oh,
like it was, Michael Graves made it more poppy,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
still,
Yeah.
it's a different sound.
But it's
Yeah.
also a progression.
right.
Yes.
For them.
Yes.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
Which
so-
is a big thing. I feel like people don't factor that into bands. Like, of course they're gonna progress and like change as they get older, they get more knowledge. You
Right.
know?
Right.
But no, that was the crazy part, living through that back then. Like, as you mentioned, at one point I turned my back on Green Day, which was insane because they're the band that brought me into all of this.
Yeah.
And then they didn't do anything different. Like, Dookie already came out, Insomniac was out. It was right around the Nimrod time. Actually, I can tell you exactly what it was. It was Good Riddance, Time of Your Life.
Yeah.
You didn't
That
want
was my prom
I
song.
wanted
You don't-
nothing to
Yeah.
do with that song. I remember when they played at the at ECC.
Mhm.
He came out and did that at the encore, and I was just in the crowd flipping him off because I was like, "Fuck you! This song sucks." You
You
know,
were
this
very
and that.
punk.
I was awful. I was such a dick. But then it's like, and then at that point, like, I sold all my Green Day stuff. I had T-shirts and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this band because, you know, they're so mainstream and everything. And it's like, you idiot. And at that point, that's when I was starting to get into the Clash and everything. It's like, they're on a major label. Like, just
Yeah.
because of bands, and that was the thing that was so crazy back then too, that just the sin of being on a major label.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the sin of trying to make a living off
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
music.
How
and-
dare you?
You didn't want to
Right.
be, you didn't want to be a poser.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
and
that's
then
what-
finally there was just at one point I was like, okay, this is stupid. Like, this band brought me into it. I enjoy it. Like, and then I, was all in.
And then years later, Billy Joe says in an interview that Good Riddance is one of the most punk rock things he's ever done.
Absolutely, and he's right. He's
But he is, because he
100%
went
right.
against everything that's,
yes. And that's the whole point of it, is just like rebelling against
Right.
Yeah.
the norm and
doing something different.
or
Yeah.
any
Right.
of that stuff, anything different.
And now it's like one of my favorite songs. Like I wanted it to be played at the end of our wedding. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Like my funeral song, I've told Cori, like if I go before you, that's the song I want being played.
The funny part about that song, though, is it's a breakup song.
Yeah.
But people play it at like prom.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was at my
Graduation.
prom. You want to have it at your wedding.
Yeah.
Or wedding/funeral.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Either
Is that the
one.
same thing?
Yeah,
I'm
yes,
kidding.
yes, it is. But like, it's a breakup song.
Yes.
Much like their first two albums was about a girl. Well, the
Yeah.
first one
Yeah.
was about, basically the whole album was about a girl
Right.
that he liked and she didn't like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny, because people are like, Good Riddance, it's like, oh, it's so good, it's memorable, and it's like, it's really
And
about
does
a breakup.
everybody
though.
feel like their family and friends have something supportive of this? Like, obviously, for you guys, like, you make it a family affair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For our kids. But no, like my dad was not on board with me listening. I remember I was just telling this to my son the other day. The song, what was it called? It's a No Effects song. Why did the cat get so fat? I don't think that's what it's called though.
Oh,
How did the cat get so fat?
yeah. What?
So basically, the lyrics start off. I don't remember exactly what the name is, but
Ugh.
it starts off. Even if it's easy to be free. Even if it's easy to be free. What's your definition of freedom? And who the fuck are you anyway? Who the fuck are they? Who the fuck am I to say? What the fuck is really going on? How did the cat get so fat? I had that written on a folder, like on the inside.
Yeah.
And
I used to do
we
that
went
all
to
the
the
time,
same
right?
school. We went to
Yeah.
O'Hara Catholic school and everything. And my dad saw it one time. What is this? And I was like, oh, it's just lyrics from a song, Dad. And he's like, well, that's the music you're listening to. You shouldn't be listening to it. And of course, you don't understand me. And just like the whole thing. But like, yeah, so they were not on board with, what I was listening to and everything. But, it wasn't like they took music away from me or took records away. It wasn't anything that severe. And it's just crazy how you look back on it and like 94 and 95 definitely had a huge impact on that. But then how mainstream this culture became. And it's coming back now. Like, you're starting to see like pop artists like doing pop punk. Like what was it? Willow Smith was doing like pop punk and
MGK.
right.
I think,
And now it's just like no one really bats an eye at it. And like the tattoo thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for the longest time that was like, oh, like you can't get a job with tattoos and now
Right.
it's just accepted.
Yeah.
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 So and I
I'm a
think
supervisor at a school.
yeah, I think this culture had a lot to do with that.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's doctors too. Like you see doctors that
Yeah.
have with tattoos and
Everybody
stuff. But
now.
professionals, like
Yeah.
it's,
Finally.
It's finally accepted.
Yeah.
I feel like now it's like getting to the point where like people are realizing that punk's healthy for us,
Yeah.
that like this expressiveness that we learn through it, and the lyrics and
DIY.
the conversation,
Yeah.
the DIY, and doing things yourself and trying to like
But yeah, if you have an office job, you can't like express anything. You gotta be quiet,
Right.
do your work, and then
Yeah.
you can go home. You can listen to this. You can unwind and
Right.
let it out. It's
well, it's like
an outlet.
one of my favorite movies has always been SLC Punk.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And just mainly because of the ending of it.
Yeah.
That where, the main idea is that if you want to fuck things up, you have to go within the system.
Yeah.
And not be without it.
Yeah.
Because if you're outside of the system,
it's-
no one's going to listen to you.
Yep.
all right.
So,
And
like,
Devin Sawa.
Yes.
Yes. And Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
Definitely Matthew Lillard. Oh, Shaggy. When he played Shaggy, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So excited for that.
I wish we could have got the R-rated Scooby-Doo with Matthew Lillard, because James Gunn still says that he would do an R-rated Scooby-Doo.
We had Winnie the Pooh.
I know.
So
Yeah.
it
We
could
got
happen.
two Winnie the Poohs.
Yeah.
And what's coming? They're making a Poovers. Like
No.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the next one coming out is Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
Not Mickey Mouse.
Steamboat Willie.
Steamboat
Yeah.
Willie.
Yeah. Yep.
but they're gonna make this multiverse out of these characters who are not in the domain anymore,
Right.
or
Crazy.
Yeah.
in the domain.
Public domain.
They're in
Yeah.
the
Not
public
public-
domain.
Mhm.
They
in
are
public
not
domain.
public domain anymore.
And it's crazy that you say that your dad was like, "Ugh, that's trash," because even though like my grandma was super strict with me, but like with music, and I think that's because everyone in my family, my mom, my uncle, my grandpa, even my grandma, they all loved music so much. So like when she was in the car with me and I'd put something on, she'd be like, "What band is this?" And I'd tell her and she'd be like, "Oh, okay." Like
At
one
least
of
she's
her
like curious.
one of her favorite bands, and she was like in her 80s. She loved Real Big Fish.
Aw.
She loved them, and she called them. Is this the band that does that song about the girl having a girlfriend? And I'm like, yes, it is.
Because once again, the lyrics were about real
Yeah.
things that were
Yeah.
happening in like everyday life and everything.
Yeah. So my immediate family was like, it's music. We don't care.
Yeah.
But then, like, extended family, like, I had this cousin who was very holier than thou. She grew up with me. We liked the same, like, crappy boy bands and stuff like that. But then she got punk, like, militant punk. And
she was like a booking agent or something for some bands,
yeah,
right?
blah, blah, blah.
Casualties and
And-
Anti-Flag.
And then
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, you like this band? No. Mm-mm." And I'm like, "Girl, you listen to New Kids on the Block with me." And she's like, "I never listened to them." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Don't not admit it.
Yeah,
It
so,
happened.
but that was my first taste of someone going,
Mhm.
"You're not punk enough."
Right.
And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?"
But and I also wonder too, because like I feel like all of that's gone away.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that anymore. But also, I feel like one of the reasons why that may have been happening at that time was because music identified you.
Yeah.
True,
Music
true.
was who
Yeah.
you were, and
Yeah.
like you're saying, Corey, like you could only listen to certain things because if you stepped outside of that, well, now
Oh,
you're not part of that
yeah.
orbit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like now with streaming and everything like that, everything's just so mixed together. Like I mean, look at our kids,
Yeah.
the stuff that they listen to. It's
Yeah.
all over the map.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you were the originator. You're the OG for that. So,
Put them
like,
all over the map.
yeah, my joke is that with Corey's Spotify, it'll go from you'll have ABBA at 1 minute, and then you'll be hearing Wu Tang, and then you'll jump back, you'll hear Real Big Fish, and now here comes NWA, and it's just like all over the place. So.
Yeah, that's totally mine too.
Yeah.
Throw some Nick Jonas in there. I love Nick
Yeah.
Jonas.
Hillary Duff. Thank you.
Oh, I absolutely am obsessed with Hillary Duff, like completely obsessed. I had a calendar. Ask Susie. When I lived with Susie, I had a giant calendar and everything. And like even now, like I follow her on Facebook and everything. And
Yeah,
she's
so do
so
I.
amazing.
I
She's so
love her.
fucking amazing.
Her album
she's
Metamorphosis. What a good album.
How I Met Your
still
How I
listen
Met
to
Your
it and
Father
I'm
though
like-
was not a good series.
I don't care. It's
I
still
watched it for
I
Hillary
watched
Duff.
it for Hillary. Did
It was
it for
real bad.
Hillary.
And then Josh from Drake and Josh shows up and I'm like, what's going on?
Spoilers.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah, spoilers.
Jeez.
Sorry, spoilers.
I didn't tell you who he was.
So I think the two of you are more punk rock than anyone for liking Hillary Duff.
Yes, that's the most punk rock you
She's
can be.
super punk rock. She's amazing.
But it's funny that you mentioned your dad and stuff, and like, see, my parents didn't care what we listened to, and my dad, and he was listening to like, he was all over the place. Like he would listen to like Metallica, then he would listen to like
Yeah.
Def Leppard. So
My
he
dad, too.
liked the glam metal, the heavy metal. So that's what we really grew up listening to. My mom, on the other hand, she was listening to like Michael Bolton, Mariah Carey. Like me and my brother
Don't
were like,
you
no.
talk bad about Michael Bolton. Don't you talk bad about my friend Michael.
So luckily we stuck with the rock side of things. But it's funny because when Green Day first, probably after Insomniac. No, it's probably when did International Super Hits come out?
That was after Warning.
After Warning.
Yeah,
My
because
dad-
that was when they were on their decline
Yeah.
and almost broke up. So.
My dad wanted that for like a Christmas or birthday gift or
Aw.
something because he liked Green Day as much as we did.
Nice.
So we actually, he got that, and
Aw.
He would drive up the street, the car could hear Green Day playing. It was, you know, back then I was like, oh man, this is embarrassing. But now it's like, now that I'm older, I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of our parents were pretty big music fans, so
Yeah.
they kind of just were like, whatever.
They scoffed at like when I was listening to hip hop and stuff. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, because they were like, we don't get it, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
cool that they were just like,
Whatever, yeah.
like what you like, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Reese, what's your favorite thing of the week?
Favorite thing of the week? That there's only 1 week left of school. Well, I guess this would be
Well, till the
next
school year
week.
starts.
When is this going to be released?
The
No,
26th.
I got to tell a kind of personal story from work. The favorite thing of my week was on Monday, I got floated to a different room. And I have a kid in my room who's my favorite. And
Not that we're supposed to have
we're not
favorites.
supposed to have favorites, but he's my favorite. I'm his favorite.
You don't have to say his name, it's fine.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not going to say name. So, I got floated to a different room because there was like 40 call-ins. It was crazy.
Oh, I know, ours too.
Between all the sites,
Yeah.
it was nuts. So I went in there to get my lunch, and he sits in the back of the room. So I'm at the fridge getting my lunch. He
Are we standing up,
I know.
everyone? This is serious.
because I'm standing. Well, I don't hit my arms on my hips like Susie, so it's not a bad thing. No.
Too serious.
So he comes up to me. He's looking at me, and he just puts his arm around me. And I said, "Oh, do you miss me?" And he's like, "Miss you."
Oh,
Aww.
that's nice.
So that was the best thing that happened to me this week.
Yes, that's great. It's a good story.
That is super great. Corey, favorite thing of the week?
It's been a really rough
Yeah.
week, but
Dig for that favorite thing.
I got 2 new tattoos
Yeah?
that I'm really excited
This
about.
week?
They're really cute.
They're sweet.
Sunday. Last
Aw.
Sunday. Yeah, my little cat. And my evil eye.
Nice.
Ah.
Yep. So I'm
It's always
excited
nice to
about
get
that.
tattoos.
But you gotta tell
And
them how
it
it
was-
happened, because it's really interesting how you got them done.
Yeah, they are hand poke.
Oh, okay.
So instead of a machine, she
Yeah.
does it manually. And it was so soothing, like almost like acupuncture. And I
Nice.
said to her, I go, I'm so tired because it's just been exhausting this
Yeah.
week. And I'm so tired, but I could just fall asleep, like the sound. And she gets like, girl, if you have to go to sleep, go to sleep.
They became best friends based on what you're saying.
Me and her are best friends now.
That's amazing.
You should shout her out.
Yeah, her name's Chantel. She is Pink Me Ink. And you can follow her on Instagram.
Is she accepting new clients?
She is. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. She has open booking.
Sweet.
And she does a lot of pop-ups too.
Nice.
So
It's always cool. Brian, what's your favorite thing of the week?
All right, so I don't mean to bring things down, but I'm going to take the positive from a negative.
Okay.
So earlier this week, unfortunately, my mother passed away. But the thing that I'm taking away from this week is just all the love and support we have received from friends and family, and just so many just words of support and things like that. So it's been meaning so much to me, for everyone, you guys included, for all of your kind words and support, as we go through all of this. So it's kind of tough because there's been so much going on, but I did go back to work on Wednesday. People were like, why are you here? And I was just like, it's just a nice distraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially everything was kind of taken care of, all the things
Yeah.
that we were doing and stuff, because nothing's happening until tomorrow. But
Yeah.
so for me, like, it's tough to really pick something that was great this week, because honestly, there's just been so much going
Yeah.
on with all of this. But for me, for sure, that has been a very great thing that I can just point to, just friends and family just being there.
And that's great
so-
for you to be self-aware enough to know that you're getting the support
Right.
and stuff, and knowing that you're not alone.
Yes. So for me, that is definitely a huge takeaway from this week. Just how loved we are.
and we have a great friend group.
Yes. That we
And-
consider family.
And honestly, like I always tell my dad, I'm like, I only only have like 3 friends. And he's like, are you kidding me?
I do the same thing. I'm like, I have nobody. And then when you think about it, you're
Yeah.
like, wait, no. you
And
do.
like this week, I was like, oh my God, I have to tell this person, this. And I'm like, what? Now I'm up to like 15 people that I have to tell. And they're all just like, immediately, what can we do?
And
What
when
do
you
you need?
messaged me, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, I got to add her to the group chat because I've already been talking to Bryan. Like, yep.
Yes. So if anyone's listening out there, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything.
Even you, Susie. Even you.
Travis, what's your favorite thing of the week?
I'll have to say, well, I don't know. I got my back diagnosed, so that was something I've been waiting for a long time. But
Not that was too good.
no, but
At least you know.
yeah, I know, and my I'll just give a shout out to my massage therapist, Chantel, at Just for Today Massage. She does a great job, and I also do some Reiki work with Carissa Dorado, and she's got me through a lot of tough times. So
Great.
I look forward to that every
Yeah.
other week. So that's
Good
my thing.
support system's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
That's what we were
definitely.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say my favorite thing of the week, it's kind of, it will go with Reese's and Bryan's in a way. So we have 1 week left of summer school. My kid was super rough this week. Like Friday I got kicked in the jaw.
Oh, jeez.
And like I had been getting kicked and punched for a while. It just kind of he's 7,
Yeah.
you know. He's trying to work through these things. I don't take any of it personal
Right.
at all. But he got me really bad in the jaw, and I was like hoping that it like wasn't too bad. It wasn't gonna bruise or whatever. And we were able to calm him down, everything, which was great. So I ended up going. The kids that I work with during the school year are 2 of them are across the hall from me. So I went across the hall and I was like, oh, can I come in, say hi? And the one kid like lit up and just came and just hugged me and just held me. And we were just hugging, you know, just hugging for
You're like,
a while.
don't cry, don't
It's
cry,
like,
don't
yeah,
cry.
I know, yeah.
Even though we're supposed to tell them hugs
Yeah.
are for home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do use hug therapy a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, there are some kids that obviously
With the
don't
younger
tend
ones,
to.
but I'm with
Yeah.
the older ones, so
Yeah.
technically we're not supposed to
Yeah.
hug them or.
You can
know.
do like the side hug or something, right? Or you still try to stay away from
You
all
try
that?
to,
Yeah.
but I've been with this kid forever, so like
Yeah.
people
Right.
come up to me at times to just give me a hug.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Right, what are you going to
What are
do?
you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not
I
going to
said-
get off me!
If you're
And,
gonna.
yeah.
Oh,
And I mean,
fine,
if they need
write
one
me
at
up
the
for a kid
moment,
hugging
like,
me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
me not
Exactly.
me tell
Yeah.
them not to stop.
Right.
So it was super nice, you know, to like, and then his teacher's like, oh, he's so excited to see you because his face lit up and everything. It was more for me. Like, I know
Yeah.
he was excited to see him, like me, but I was super excited to see him.
Mhm.
And it was just nice to be like, oh, you know, kind of
Yeah.
go over there and then like,
Yeah,
through
it's
and
kind of
stuff.
funny because the room I got floated to on Monday, the kid I was pretty much with all day lit up. Like, I've never interacted with him ever. And he was smiling and looking over at me all day. And, like, he was doing work for me because he doesn't usually do work for, like, people he doesn't know.
uh-huh.
And the teacher was like, what are you doing to this guy? And, like,
You
I'm
must
like,
remind him of somebody
that's
too,
what I
you
said,
know?
because
Like,
and she's like, he's never, like, we were marking him for a lot of vocalizations, like, it was pretty much all day.
Aw.
You know, which isn't a bad thing. It's just,
no,
but he was
he's
just so excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And so I saw him the next day, or I was walking with one of my students the next day, and he was in the gym, and he must have saw me, and he just started laughing, smiling, and
Aw.
doing his thing, and she was like, "Oh, Maurice supposed to be out there," and the gym teacher looked out, and she was like, "He is out there." So
Aw.
I guess that was another really positive, and,
Yeah.
good thing for this week. But
Which
it
I'm
was
sure
cool.
was like one of his favorite things.
Oh,
for the
yeah,
week too.
yeah.
You know, if he was like that excited for you and everything, like that's awesome.
But we kind of think it might be the bald head, because a female staff member who she shaves her head was with him the next day, and she was getting the same reaction. So we're thinking maybe it was
Really?
the bald head.
Huh.
Huh.
But still, it's still
Yeah.
made my
So
day.
it's-
And
That's one of the things I love about our jobs is like the mystery of like figuring out
Why
like, you
they
know
do what they do.
what we can do,
Yeah.
how we can help this kid, how they can communicate, and like
Right.
all that is like definitely the cool part. All right, so closing, thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out radpantheon.com, a super team of pop culture craze creative types like me and so many others, like everybody here. I think is pretty much on there.
Yep.
And also go to westernnewyorkhorrorcrew.com to check out our Nerd Thrift Store. And shout outs from this Cori. You can have your moment first. Cori, do your shout outs.
Okay. Well, this is weird because two of you are here. Anyways, hi Susie and Mike, and with Maurice, they're the Boogeyman's Closet. Go listen to them if you're 18 or if your parents hate you. And Superfan Sam and Nikki, who definitely won't listen to this podcast. And my friend Josh and Matt and Count Creepyhead Mike and my best friend Timothy and Michael Bolton and all of the cast, of the Mickey Mouse Club past.
No future.
Just past.
You
No
almost
present.
Is there a present?
There's no present.
And no future,
And probably.
as the Sex Pistols would say.
Yeah.
And Justin Timberlake, I hope you do good on your world tour and it doesn't get canceled. And
stop
Nelly,
getting drunk before 10 a.m.
Whoa.
Make good choices.
Make
Yeah.
good
Come on.
choices.
Come on, you're better than that.
And Nelly and Peter Cetera and Mariah Carey, who
Oh,
is
boy.
a listener to this podcast, but not mine for some reason.
I don't know.
And my
We're
best
really good friends.
Yeah, love
No.
Sam.
Sorry.
and my best friend, Silver Fox himself, Dick Gear.
Yeah. We did it.
We did it, everyone.
It's done.
We did
Anybody
it.
else have any shout outs? Corey did a good
Reese is
job
like,
of covering
no.
everybody.
I think she covered it all.
Yeah.
He's like,
I
I
guess-
wanted to talk about Michael Bolton.
I guess just our pod. So if you like what Corey and I have to say, check us out. So it's come to this a Simpsons family podcast.
Yeah, you were
can
the
find
shout out
us.
of the episode.
Yeah. So you can find us pretty much wherever you find your podcast.
Yep.
And like Susie said, I'm on the Boogeyman's podcast, but we've been
Susie
on
said that?
Corey?
Or Susie said that. Corey said that.
Susie
I
said
got
that
Susie,
also.
Susie is part of the podcast.
Yes.
Corey mentioned that Boogeyman's podcast, we're currently on hiatus, so I'm not too sure when we're coming back, but
You got a lot in the back order though.
To
Yeah.
be continued.
a lot of good movies have come out since the hiatus.
Definitely.
True.
And our upcoming event is September 9th, Nightcrawlers Market. Yeah.
Nightcrawlers.
Mm.
You
This
want
could
to
be
play
fun.
Nightcrawlers, Charlie?
Nightcrawlers.
The same day as Descendants, right?
Yeah.
September 9th?
I think it is.
Yep.
I might have to go to Nightcrawler since it's sold out.
Yeah.
And quote Henry Rollins, my optimism wears heavy boots and is loud, and you need a little bit of insanity to do great things. Everybody enjoy your night and try to make somebody smile. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.